Production and Archive in Columbia, Alabama, and I'm in the elaborate, magnificent home of my dearest friend that I ever could have, Gene Montgomery. And Gene and I have been friends for almost 3 years now, and I guess we got a rocky start at first. You, as our listeners know how not dedicated I am when I have abstract projects going on, and I don't mean any harm by that. It's just that that's just the way it happened. But nevertheless, we became dear friends and been to several different places. Niceville, we've been to Oktoberfest down in Niceville, Florida, and we've been to Spivey Hall to a concert, and been to Montgomery to a concert, and all over the place. But our story is just trivia for right now because of the phenomenal story that you're about to hear. And I'm going to just kind of jump right into Gene's story and let him tell you what has happened to him over the last 50 years. But it's quite remarkable. And I guess the first question I want to ask you is, why music? How did you get involved in it? Was it your grandmother, your grandfather? Who was instrumental in your life, etc.?
My mother died in March of 2001. And at the funeral, one of my aunts told me something that I had never heard before, which was that the day that I was born, my father and mother were together, and my mother said to my father, "You have your baseball player," that would be my older brother. "Now I have my piano player."
They got it right.
And I had never heard that.
They got it right.
But I always had an interest in music. I remember one Christmas I had a little record player of sorts that I actually wore out because I just kept playing it over and over and over again until it finally just quit. But I had a friend who lived across the street who was a year or so younger, and he started taking piano lessons, and it nearly drove me crazy. My parents said that if anybody picked me up, or I was always with the fingers just tapping on something. So right prior to the first grade, I started taking piano lessons, and my teacher, this was 1951, so things
just
are
a few years ago.
Things are quite different now, but this is how she did it. My piano teacher lived a half block from the Senatobia City School.
Senatobia being in Mississippi, right?
Yes, yeah. This one building had all 12 grades. So when I was in the first grade, my older brother was in the 12th grade. And so there for a whole year I was protected. I could say, you can't mess with me because my brother is in the 12th grade.
He would kick your butt.
We were polar opposites, to say the least. But anyway, the way she did, the way Miss Thomas did with those of us who were beginning and that young, is we had 4 lessons a week: Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. And I often wondered how she could take on 40 or more students in a week. And they all had at least 2 lessons a week. And I couldn't figure out how she did that. Well, the way she did it was that at that time, students would leave school all day long, walk a half block to her house, have a piano lesson, and walk back to the school.
Oh, wow.
They'd be meeting the ones coming and going, all day long. That's how she did it. But with me, and being 6 years old, I still didn't know my ABCs. We didn't have kindergarten in those days. At least not in Senatobia. So that's how I started, was taking from her and taking those 4 lessons a week. And that's what you should do with young children, because they don't understand the concept of practice. So I remember I took for a whole year from her, and when it came time for her big annual recital, I was aggravated that I wasn't first. I wanted to be first, and I was seventh. And I remember that after all these years, I was seventh. So
What was your first piano recital piece?
I think it was called the bouncing ball. Something to do with playing octave notes up and down the piano.
So you were seventh in line to play.
She also, we were 35 miles from Memphis, and so she made trips up to Memphis to the music stores to buy music, and that's how we did it, or that's how she did it in those days. And I did the same thing when I was teaching. She had picked out some interesting things. Actually, I used some of the things that were still in print when I started teaching that she had used with me because they were such good pieces.